Hello, I'm Glennie, the founder of Tears. I'm so glad to be with you today on Gold. I'm an abuse survivor, and when I went to the police station in my time of distress, I couldn't get the help I needed. I was begging them, I was crying, I was asking, where can I go for help? And all they could do was shake their head and say to me, come back on Monday. It was Friday afternoon. I was desperate. So when I got well, I actually decided that no other person would do that if I could possibly help that. I started Tears Foundation because in the time of adversity that I was at the police station, I could not get the help I needed. And I wanted to develop a service where that happened to no other woman in our country. One of the most amazing stories along my journey was the fact that I had dreamt the service. Yes, dreamt. Literally woke up one morning and I believe God had inspired me to actually do the service. And I started finding someone who could implement the service for me, and everybody said no. Day after day, door was shut in my face. But I didn't give up till eventually I found someone who could develop help at your fingertips. The reason I founded Tears Foundation was that when I was in the police station and I couldn't get the assistance that I needed, I was desperate. I was broken. All I wanted to do was know where I could go to get help. And all they could tell me was come back on Monday, and it was Friday. I was totally desperate. I'm never ever going to forget how it felt to feel like that. So I have developed a program that will help other women and people to find the nearest place to them by simply dialing a number for free on their phone. The first major hurdle that I accomplished in the founding of Tears Foundation was finding someone who could actually put my dream into action. That was when I was going around and door after door was shut in my face. People said it couldn't be done. It's been done nowhere in the world. Well, I was absolutely determined that no other person would have the same situation that I did, that they couldn't find out where they could get help right now. So I developed Help at Your Fingertips, which is a free service on your mobile and works anywhere in the country. I had dreamed the service for Tears Foundation. The next step in my journey was to find someone who could implement it for me. It wasn't easy. Door after door was shut in my face with people saying it can't be done, or giving me a price so high that I could never imagine ever doing it. I persevered with my dream that on your mobile phone, anywhere in South Africa, you'd be able to find the nearest place where you could get assistance if you'd been abused or raped. That I called it Help at Your Fingertips. The next dream that I had was to find an office, which I found in Central Sandton from a big corporate who housed our team to build and grow the service to help abuse victims. In the past few years, we have helped 500,000 people, callers. Since launch of the program, we have helped over 500,000 people. What a privilege. Since the launch of Help at Your Fingertips, we've had the privilege of helping 500,000 callers. Of course, I always recommend that you read your Bible. It gives you the mainstay in your life. But on a lighter note, a fantastic book to read is called Two Old Women. It's an Alaskan folklore, and it's about old women that are journeying across the Iceland with their tribe and who become a burden. And they then get told by their tribe they are moving on without them. So there were these two old women in the middle of a cold wasteland. They had to make a decision about the way they go forward with their lives. It would change your lives to read the book, because so many of us are in that position that we have to take decisions that are life-changing and affect our lives and that of our family in the future. My favorite quote would be, get up, get dressed, and show up, because it's so easy to avoid the problems that surround you. But if you make the effort, get up and face the situation, often the answers present themselves, and you find the confidence and courage to walk forward. Rape and abuse is totally abhorrent to me, but I do feel pleased that with the Me Too movement in America and around the world, at least women are in a safe place now where they can speak out. So I urge all women, if you're in a position where you've been raped or abused, speak out. Now's your time for healing. I think you should live with purpose. I can remember sharing with my sister that I wasn't having success with my fundraising. And she suggested that I actually focus more. And I was quite offended because I think I'm a pretty good salesperson. But I discovered she was right. I wasn't focusing enough. I was being distracted. So I think success firstly is to have a very clear focus of that which you want to do. And purpose on your way forward, that is what you're going to do. So for me, that meant jettisoning things that were not relevant to my key focus, which was setting up tiers and fundraising. The next thing is develop an inquiring mind. It's very important to know what's going on. So many of us don't know what's going on around them. So developing an inquiring mind is a vital component of success. The next thing I think is that you have to take time for yourself. Because if you just work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have nothing to give. So you need to be in a position where not only are you learning new things with your inquiring mind, but you're also taking time to rest. And then lastly, have a wonderful relationship with God, because He gives you the knowledge that you don't have. And in your quiet moments, He will give you the knowledge that you need, or the encouragement, or the refreshment that you need. The youth of today have so many amazing opportunities out there for them. But sometimes I wish for a simpler life, where you have less choices, because it's really hard to shut out all the news. So my advice to any people today is switch off your phone for a little bit and take a bit of me time, because you can't pour from an empty cup. There were many times that I felt like giving up. When people challenged me because I didn't have the funds to meet my commitments, I felt so worthless. I felt so desperate. But I knew that the vision and the dream I had of starting a service that could help people all over South Africa was real. So I persisted. I didn't give up. So a lot of times we have a calling on our lives, or we have a vision, and we give up just before we reach the end. So I urge you, if you really believe that you have a vision and it needs to be fulfilled, don't give up when the going gets tough. There is a saying, it's a cliche that says, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Rape and abuse is totally abhorrent to me. But I do feel pleased that with the Me Too movement in America and around the world, at least women are in a safe place now where they can speak out. So I urge all women, if you're in a position where you've been raped or abused, speak out. Now's your time for healing. My wish for gold is that you have the discernment in your spirit to identify the programs that will make meaningful change in people's lives. Because the hard part about change, I've been on many seminars in my life where people have clapped and cheered. But the bottom line is, if nothing that you hear changes your life, you've just tickled your ears. So I'm asking for life-changing, inspirational programs to be made by gold. We all march to the beat of our own drummer. And the important part in my life is to hear what beat I want to march to. It is something that doesn't come naturally. It's something you have to tune into. So for me, success is knowing that I'm doing the best I can with that which has been placed on my heart to do. It sounds so simplistic, but it might mean, as it did in my case, not feeling upset because you no longer can afford a personal shopper. It might mean being pleased with that dress that you're given that someone else wore before you, because it's something in your heart. It's not something money can buy. It's glibly said by everyone that the youth are the future of our country, but we know that. Can you imagine being 12, pregnant, and not knowing what to do? Well, that was what struck me on my recent trip into one of the townships, that so many thousands of young girls found themselves in that situation, and that our education service is not giving them the information they need. We will soon be launching a program called Speak Out, which will be free to the user on the phone, where anywhere in South Africa the user will be able to get what he or she should do in the case of an unwanted pregnancy or sexual disease. It's very important that we have a healthy and strong youth, because after all, they are the future of our country. One of the things I do to keep abreast of what's happening is following various Facebook pages. And about a month and a half ago, I saw a lady absolutely desperate, reaching out for help for her daughter, who was in a desperate situation. The daughter was cutting herself. She was not going to school, and in fact, every place that the woman had turned to had resulted in more despair. I referred her to one of our staff members who offers services, and yesterday I got a letter for her saying how the service had changed her life. Can you imagine having such a privilege of getting a letter like that? I'm eternally grateful that I was able to help her. Hello, I'm Mara from the Tears Foundation. Keep watching gold. Hello. This is Mara from the Tears Foundation with a quick reminder. Keep watching gold. Go for gold. Hello, I'm Mara Glennie from the Tears Foundation. Keep watching gold with Kingly. Hello, I'm Mara Glennie from the Tears Foundation. Catch me on gold this week. I want to thank all the people who told me it couldn't be done, because I made jolly sure I did it. I couldn't let them be right. So thank you to all of you naysayers. Watch me on gold. Running a foundation is like no other thing I've ever done, because it's much harder than normal business. But the very important factor I found that did me good in my journey was that I had a very clear vision of what I wanted to achieve. And very early on I realized I can't do it alone. Collaborate with like-minded people. Some years ago, I was involved in a very big international court case, and I found that people avoided me. In fact, I even had someone running across the road not to be in the same picture frame as myself. And it's at times like that that you realize that true friends are really worth their weight in gold. Some of the amazing people who stood by me at that time are still my friends, and I realize that true friends are more valuable than gold. On my journey, I've come to realize that you may need it, you may pray for it, you may believe God has answered, but it doesn't always happen. So having the faith to stand and stand and stand is very, very important, because if God truly has made a promise to you and you have not been presumptuous, it will come to pass. One of the scriptures that I really love is "Be still and know that I'm God," because I think that we are so often busy that we don't take the time to hear what God has for our life. And so if He's given you a vision and it's not yet come to fulfillment, be still and know He's God. I woke up one day and gave me the color and the name. I want to thank every person who has walked this difficult journey with me. The field of gender-based violence and rape and abuse is fraught with difficulties and closed doors. So all of you who've opened your hearts and checkbooks and helped me on this journey, I want to sincerely thank you. Embarking on the journey of tears was not a decision made lightly, but it was a decision that was made for me. Deep in my spirit and in my heart, I knew that I was going to persevere, because I wanted nobody else to have the same situation that I had, of desperation, of crying in that police station, not being able to get the help. I will never ever forget the desperation that I felt. And I felt, by my own personal desperation, moved to help others. I was privileged to finish my high school in Hyde Park, Johannesburg. And do you know what? Just a few years ago, I met with all my fellow matric students, and we had a class reunion. Class of 68, 50 years since we matriculated. What a privilege.